Okay, we just looked at 25A. So now if we look at 25B, one thing to keep in mind when you're factoring is you should always undo the distributive property first, because a lot of times it will make it a lot less complicated for you. So if we look at 12x squared minus 16x, you will notice that you could take out a 4x from both of those. So if you do 12x squared divided by 4x, 12 divided by 4 is 3, x squared divided by x is x. And here, 16x divided by 4x would leave you with 4. And so factored, that would be 4x times 3x minus 4. Notice that this no longer has the exponent, and so that's as factored as it can get. Looking at C, what you should do is you should rearrange these, put them in the order that you know works. So 8x squared minus 10, or I'm sorry, that's a k, 8k squared minus 10k plus 3. So once you get it rearranged, then it's going to be just like what you've done before. So you put your 8k squared there and your 3 there. So now you're looking for things that are going to multiply to be 24k squared and add to be negative 10k. So when you do that, negative 6, negative 4, that works for that. So one of them would be negative 6k, one will be negative 4k. And then trying to decide where your 4 and your 2 go, again, or if it's going to be 8 and 1, you kind of just have to look at these other numbers and think about what would work. 8 and 1 couldn't work because you couldn't multiply 8 by anything, by a whole number to get one of these. So you know it can't be 8 and 1. So then you look at 2 and 4. The 4 couldn't be multiplied by anything to get negative 6. So that's why you know it's going to have to be the 2k here and then the 4k there. So 4k times what gives me negative 4k? It's negative 1. 2k times what gives me negative 6k? Well, that would have to be a negative 3. Then you can double check, make sure that works. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. So you get 2k minus 1, 4k minus 3. D, same thing, is if you take out the common factor here, you could divide both of these things by 20. So 40 divided by 20 leaves you with 2. 100 divided by 20 leaves you with 5. So it'd be 20 times 2 minus 5m. So again, what you're doing on both of these is you're undoing the distributive property. When you look over here, there's nothing you could divide out of those. Same way with that. So, but you should always look to see if you can divide anything out first. For example, when we do number 26, do you see how you can divide all 3 of those things by 2? So if you divide them by 2, then you just bring down your multiply, what you were multiplying by was 2. And then so 4x squared divided by 2 is 2x squared. And then 10x minus, or divided by 2 is 5x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So then now you have smaller numbers to focus on in your box. So you'd put your 2x squared here, your negative 3 there. So you're looking for 2 things that multiply to be negative 6x squared, that add to be negative 5x, because that's what is in the problem there. So then since it's a 6, they do either have to be 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. You may think 2 and 3 initially because you have this 5, but since this is a negative 6, you know one of them's going to have to be a positive and one's going to have to be a negative. And so negative 6x plus 1x will give you the negative 5x. So now you know you'll put x in one of these spots, negative 6x in the other. From there, how are you going to split up this 2x squared? Well, since this one is only a 1x, you know this is going to have to be an x down here. So you bring your 2x here. 2x times what gives you negative 6x? That's a negative 3. So then x times what gives you 1? I'm sorry, x times what gives you x? X times 1. And then you can double check here. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. So you bring down your 2. So now it's 2 times 2x plus 1 times x minus 3. So this is what it's going to look like to have it factored completely. And those are your 813 notes.